All right. I'm recording this section, so if you have any personal names, just don't say it, because we are live also on Facebook. And if you have any questions, you can put it in a chat or you can raise your hand. And hello and welcome, everybody, to the Backpack Series training. And my name is Vanessa Pollack. I am a parent consultant with the Connecticut Parent Center. For those who doesn't know who we are the Parent Training Information Center for the whole state of Connecticut. And by law, every state must have a PTI, and we are the one for Connecticut. Our mission is to empower families and children with disability and developmental delay, ages 0 to 26, and the professionals who serves them. We provide phone consultation, trainings, and programs, and our goal is for parents to become their child's best advocate and give them the tools that they need to support their children. And today's training, it's about tantrums. What do they tell you? And our trainer today is Lisa, and she's from our parent partnership. Welcome and nice to have you here, Lisa. If you want to introduce yourself, who you are, who you work for, and everybody that has a question, again, if you need translation, let me know. Put your question in a chat, or you can raise your hand. We love people engagement, and welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome everyone. I'm so glad to have you join us today. And my name's Lisa Swain. I'm with the Connecticut Pyramid Partnership, which is a group of volunteers from across the state, and they represent different agencies. And CPAC is one of those agencies who's part of our team of people who are here to support teachers, caregivers, and families to help your children with social emotional learning. And I will give you my email, so if there are questions you have, you want to reach out to me later on, I would love you to feel free to do that. Also, unmute anytime you want. If you have a question as I'm going along, I'm here for you. So whatever's most helpful for all of you is what I would like to do. And Vanessa can read in the chat. If you have a question in the chat, she'll let me know. So I can't tell you how important it is that you're all here. That is what just you showing up today tells me a lot about you as parents. And I have a brother with cerebral palsy. I'm actually his guardian, and he's 10 years older than me. He was born in 1951. And back then there were very, very few services for anyone with special needs. And he was not able to walk or talk. He had a lot of other serious health issues. And at the time, my parents were told to just institutionalize him. And they decided, obviously, they loved their child. It was their firstborn son. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. They kept him home. They built furniture for him. My parents had 3 more children. I'm the youngest. And my brother is now 71, a happy, healthy person who communicates with sign language. He knows thousands of words. And so I am a huge advocate of families being involved in the care of their children, no matter what your special needs are of the child. So I just wanted to tell you that. So I'm very passionate about this work and about supporting children and families. So that's why I'm involved in the pyramid model, and I'll tell you a little bit about what that is. So I'm going to try to get rid of that bar so you don't have that in your way, because I think you probably see a black bar across the top. So let me see. Hopefully that's gone now. So the Connecticut Pyramid Partnership, like I said, we're just a group of volunteers who come together, and our whole mission is supporting social emotional competence and in infants and young children. And it's all about positive behavior, promoting the best behavior we can for children and preventing challenging behavior. And you can always contact me at connecticutpyramid@gmail.com. And that's my name. And Vanessa, if you want to put it again in the chat so everybody has it, that would be great. I look at those emails all the time. And if you're looking for a resource for your child and you can't find it, I'm going to show you a little bit how you find resources, but there are so many free resources for families. And so if you're ever looking for something and can't find it, I'd love you to reach out to me and I'll send that along to you. Okay, so today we're talking about the backpack series, which is a whole bunch of one-page resources for families from the pyramid model. The pyramid model is evidence-based practices, and it's called a pyramid because it's 3 levels. So you can see my pin, you saw the image, it's a triangle, and the bottom of it is building those positive relationships. That's the main part of what we work on. We are looking at how do you develop supportive and nurturing environments at home, at school, at a family daycare center, wherever children are. How do we give them the most supportive, nurturing environments? And then we also have individual supports. If children do have special needs or challenging behavior that's persistent, we're going to come up with a positive behavior support plan for that child. Okay, so this is an example of one of the backpack series, and I'm going to show you how to find them. There are over 20 backpacks in 10 different languages. So more than 60 of these are available for families, and I'll show you how you find those at the end. So this is teachable moment, how to help your child avoid meltdowns. There are also ones on helping your child at nap time, helping them at meal time, everything you can imagine, how to express their emotions, transitions, schedules and routines if you're having trouble getting your child out the door in the morning. So lots of handy backpack series here. And you might have seen these before. Some schools send these home or email them to parents, but if not, again, I'll show you how to find them. So I'm going to hide these controls again. And so we're talking about tantrums today. That's the topic. And so tantrums are also called meltdowns. So how do you help your child avoid meltdowns? And like I said, the pyramid model is all about preventing them. It's a lot easier to prevent a tantrum than it is to try to stop it. So has anybody here had a child who has had a tantrum? You can either raise your hand or put in the chat. Okay. So yeah, you all know.
A lot of people raise their hands.
Yeah. So I don't think I know a child who has never had a meltdown or a tantrum. And why do kids have meltdowns or tantrums? Does anyone have, like, what do you think is the reason kids have meltdowns or tantrums?
They are not able to express their needs?
Yes, that is such a great answer. They're not able to express their needs. What else might be a reason?
Abilities.
Okay.
To do some things, they get frustrated.
Yes. Yes, perfect. And when they get frustrated, like you said, they can't express sometimes. They might not have the language or the words to say they're frustrated, right? They don't know how to ask for help, maybe. They can't express their emotions. Does anyone else have anything they want to add about why a child might have a tantrum? Vanessa?
Say like sometimes the environment, some kids can be like sensory overload. So if it's a light can be too bright, or it's too crowded or too loud, that
Yes.
they can't tell us, okay, this is too much for me. So they're gonna show us having a tantrum. That happens to my kid a lot. So I'm pro at that one.
Yes, and that's another great example of why children have tantrums. And especially if they're home and used to being home and having your attention and being the only one to play with their toys, and then they have to go to a group setting and share everything and stop playing when it's cleanup time and eat when everybody else is eating, sleep when they might not want to sleep, have to wait to go outside till playground time. That's all things that can be really hard on kids who haven't ever had to do that in a group setting, right? Anybody else have anything they want to add about why kids might, and Vanessa, the noise, the lighting, it's all different if you're going to a group setting than it is at home, right? Even having to sleep on a cot on the floor is different.
And sometimes we can experience, I don't know, everybody experience, not only outside our house, but I had a problem inside of my house, for example, with the vacuum cleaner. So the noise of the vacuum cleaner for me was just, okay, we can tolerate it. But for my son, it was just too loud and he just couldn't express that this is bothering me. I can't. He would have a problem. And it took me time to realize, okay, I can't really vacuum. Or loud music, if I'm not super loud, but if I'm listening to a music, to me, it's an unreasonable volume. But for him, it was too much. So not only outside, but inside as well. Like in a car, it could be just me and him. If I put a radio on, he would just cover his ears and stop. And I'm like, what do you mean stop? It's just very, not super loud, but for him, it was. So not only with a bunch of people, but.
Yes, and you bring up another good point that we all have different temperaments and different things bother us maybe than our children. And so we might like driving and having music on and singing along. We might put the music on louder than other people like. You can think about growing up and your own sisters and brothers. You probably were very different in what you liked and what your noise level that you liked and all of those things. So that's another really good point. Every child is individual, just like we are, and you have to figure out what are those triggers. And sometimes it's not that easy to figure it out, right? Okay, so this sheet, and Vanessa will share the PowerPoint with anyone who would like it. It gives you lots of ideas for what you do to prevent meltdowns. And it starts with just a scenario. If any of you have more than one child, this might sound familiar. Your children are playing in the living room while you clean up the kitchen. You answer the phone, and a few minutes later, one child is angry and screaming because someone took her toy, and the other is in tears because her sister hit her. It's in these escalated moments like this that parents often find themselves trying to teach rules or give long explanations. But we know it doesn't usually work then, right? Just like us, think about a time you were really upset about something. Has anybody ever tried to tell you to calm down or tried to tell you a solution when you're really upset? It's not a great time to hear that, right? How do you feel when someone says, calm down when you're upset about something? Usually just makes you more upset, right? So same thing with kids. When they're really upset about something, it's not a teachable moment. There are techniques you can do to get them to relax, maybe breathing, other self-regulation, but those are things you want to do with them when they're calm, and then they have the tool when they're upset. So you don't want to teach them the breathing right in the middle of a tantrum. You want to make sure they know, okay, when we're upset, this is one thing we can do. We can blow out the candles or pretend we have a dandelion and we're going to blow those out. And we're going to take a big breath. And you practice with them when they're in a great mood. And then when they start getting upset, you can say, remember, we're going to pretend we're blowing out candles, or whatever you practice with them, right? So it says there are so many different ways to have teachable moments throughout the day. And as a parent, you can reduce challenging behavior, such as hitting, biting, pushing, or whining, when you just concentrate on calming your child during challenging behavior. And all of you know what works for your child to calm them down, right? What are some things you might do to calm them? What works for you, for your child?
Well, my child now it's older. They used to have tantrums, but when he was younger, most of the times I had to remove him from the situation, because trying to explain to him as a young age, like I'm talking about 2-3-year-old, it was just too much. He couldn't even focus on what I was saying because he was so overwhelmed and agitated that whatever I was saying, it wasn't getting to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I really have to just grab him. A lot of times it was very stressful, because then you have my glasses flying, shoes flying, because, you know, they don't want to leave that situation. Like if it's a playground or if it's on a mall, he didn't want to leave, but I had to remove him from that scenario and then try to calm him down, you know, in a car, and, you know, make him stop crying. Took sometimes a lot of energy and time and frustration, because now everybody's around you is looking like, oh my God, and you want to just dig a hole and jump it in. But I try just to not pay attention to my surroundings and focus on him, and then try, you know, talk and just change the subject and bring something up that I knew that would calm him down.
Yeah.
But most of the time we have to remove out of the situation, because try to do there, it wasn't working.
Right. So each of you can picture your own child and what works. Some children need a hug. Some children need to be removed. Some children need you to say, I know you're upset. I hear that you're upset. And, you know, let's do some breathing, whatever it is that you've practiced ahead of time, but they give you some teachable moment ideas. So one thing is, when with children's books, you can really do a lot of teachable moments when you're reading with your child. And so, for example, if you have a child who is hitting when they're frustrated, there's a book called Hands Are Not for Hitting. And you can actually talk about what you use your hands for. What are the things we want to use our hands for? And that's what that book does. So then when a child hits and is upset, you say, remember, what do we use? What do we read in Hands Are Not for Hitting? What do we use our hands for? So you try to turn it around into the positives. A teachable moment number 2, during breakfast time, let's say you're trying to teach sharing to your children, if you have 2 kids, then every time you notice them doing it, you're going to give a lot of positives. You're going to be saying, wow, look at you 2 sharing the maple syrup. That is so great. I'm really proud of you, you know, and so they're saying, wow, Mom or dad really notices when I share. They really like when I share. Look at them smiling at me and saying how great I am. They're going to want to do more. Just like if your spouse or your parent has said to you something you do really well, it makes you feel good and you want to do more rather than stop doing something. That doesn't feel so good, right? So we're going to try to always think that's the next backpack series too. So teachable moment 3, again, you're really noticing the children are playing on the floor quietly. You make eye contact with them. Wow, you girls have been playing for 10 minutes quietly. Tell me about what you're building. So you're telling them what you're seeing really specifically and giving them a lot of encouragement. They're going to do more of it if they know it really pleases their parents, their teachers, any adults that are around. And then the last one, when the phone rings, you actually tell them ahead of time, you put the phone down, tap both girls on the shoulder and say, I am going to be on the phone for 10 minutes. When this timer is done, you come tap me on my leg and show me the timer so that they have some control. They know you're going to be on the phone. They're not going to be as frustrated. They're going to think it's a game and they're watching the timer as they're playing. And then they know when they come tap you, you do have to get off the phone. So they know that it works. But there are lots of things like this that you can do. And that's empowering kids so that they don't get frustrated, right? And then they give you lots of ideas of what you can do at home. So like in the car, you can talk about friendship skills. I saw that your friend Bella was sad at school today and you made her a picture. I bet you made her feel better. What a good friend you are. Another thing, when you're reading a story, talk to the children about what's happening in the book. You don't have to just read it. You can actually notice the faces of the pictures in the book. So here's during story time. This helps teach kids emotions. Wow, that little girl in this book is really angry. I saw that she asked her mom for a hug. That's a great way to feel better. I wonder what you can do when you feel angry. So you're doing it when the child's really enjoying the storybook time with you, and they can tell you what works for them when they're mad. You can even go back. Remember when we were on the playground and you didn't want to leave? What would make you feel better when you were angry? Sometimes it's giving a choice, or they might say, I want a hug, like the little girl in the book. And then during mealtime is a great time to teach the positive things you want them to do. Let's practice asking for more milk. So you could role play. Kids love when we do funny things, like we pretend we're whining or banging our cup like they might have done. And you'd say, how would you feel if you were the mom or the dad? What's a better way? And then you can say, I would say, mommy, milk, please. If your child doesn't have a lot of words yet, you use the words they can say. And then I'm happy to get you more milk, right? So things like that. And then they always have a section on what they can do at school. If your child is at school, what can they do at school that helps? Any questions about this or comments?
Don't have to fight, you can take turns. Sometimes we have a quiet group.
Yeah. Does anybody have any anything they want to ask or comments that, like things that came up for this? Chastity has her hand up, but I think that was from before when I asked about the tantrums. So please jump in if there's anything you want to share. Here's another backpack series, how to use positive language to improve your child's behavior. So again, this is trying to avoid tantrums, and it does work. And one thing I'll tell you, because I work with a lot of families, I also work with a lot of teachers. And I taught preschool and I taught in an infant toddler program for 30 years. But I also helped kids do hands-on science. And about 10 years or more, teachers and parents would say, I love this hands-on science. My kids really like this, but I need help with the behaviors because I can't do any of these things when my child's upset, right? So I started learning about the pyramid model a little over 10 years ago and sharing it with teachers and families. And everyone that does it says, oh my gosh, this really works. Teachers that had been frustrated because they have maybe 15 kids at school or 10 kids at school, they say this really works. So that's why I'm motivated to share it, because I know it works. So this is really about, instead of saying stop it, no, or don't do that, as a parent, you might feel yourself using these words and phrases more often when your child begins to make his or her own choices. And then they say, now, what would it be like if you couldn't use the words no, stop, or don't? And try doing that. I have teachers who have tried doing this and watch, they keep track for each other. It's hard if you're, when you start doing it. So what could you say instead? And then it gives you some ideas in the try this at home. So replace don't with do. So there's actually research that shows that young children, they don't even understand what don't means. If you say don't run, you know what they hear? Run. And they want to run. So if we tell them what we want them to do, it works much better. So for example, oh, Vanessa, go ahead.
Just someone put it in a chat. If you recommend any specific resource for parents who have children with autism who have frequent tantrums.
Yes. So all of this works with children with autism. It's preparing them ahead, giving them those calm down strategies, finding what works for them when they're upset. But mostly it's going to be telling them what to do ahead of time instead of what not to do. And like that phone example, if when you're on the phone, that's a time your child gets really upset and has tantrums, then you do something like give the child the timer. You have to think ahead, what's going to be an issue for my child? And then you're going to tell them exactly what they need to do. So like for this, instead of saying, don't cut that, when your child takes a scissors and starts cutting a plant, instead of saying, don't cut the plant, we're going to say, scissors are for cutting paper or Play-Doh. That's a safe thing to have your child cut, right? So would you like me to get Play-Doh out or paper for you to cut? It's more likely that your child will make appropriate choices when you help them understand what is okay for them to do. They obviously want to cut. If they have the scissors out and they're cutting a plant, you just have to find something that's okay for them to do. offering choice, which Vanessa, you were saying too, that always helps kids a lot. In the morning, if they have trouble getting dressed, you put 2 options for them. Do you want to wear the red shirt or the blue shirt today? You only give them 2 choices that you are okay with. Then they feel good because they get to pick. It's really a great strategy and avoids tantrums. So when is the time your child has tantrums? Is it mealtime? Okay, would you like the Cheerios or the Special K? So you're only going to give them 2 choices that you're okay with. You're not going to say you can have whatever cereal you want if you don't want them having Lucky Charms, right? You're only going to give them 2 choices, put the 2 choices in front of them. This works, but you have to stick to your guns. If they say, I don't want those cereals, I want Lucky Charms. Today, these are your 2 choices. What would you like? Okay. So the other thing is the third one, tell your child when. When your child asks to do something, rather than saying no, acknowledge their wish and tell them when they can do it. So you would say, it's more like a yes to a child if you say it. So for example, if your child asks to go to the park or the playground, but you're on the computer finishing something, you could say, the park sounds like a great idea. I need to finish this letter for work right now. Would you like to go after your nap today or tomorrow morning after breakfast? So see, again, you've given them a choice. They can pick. You can't just drop everything and go now. And that's sometimes when kids have tantrums because they want to go right now, but you are giving them 2 choices. And the next one is that first then. You can actually do a first then board. Just get a sheet of paper with a line down the middle and say first and then. And this works great for kids with autism.
I was just gonna suggest that I didn't work much for my child, but I see a lot of people using have great results, like a visual, like of course, our life have interruptions and things that happen in the last minute.
Yes.
But, a lot of parents use like visual schedule, like today it's Wednesday and we're going to wake up, we're going to have breakfast, and then we're going to do all the activities and visual with pictures. So help them kind of visualize. Of course, kids little, they don't have, a sense of timing. So a lot of times I see parents like, okay, now we are doing, here's time for TV. So after we're having lunch and then, visually show them so they have idea what's happening in each order.
Exactly. And the visual schedules, I don't know if Bethanne's doing that on another session, but that's a great thing. And they have lots of resources for doing schedules at home. And this isn't a very good, you can probably not see too well, but if you had a bigger marker, first, then. Some parents put little Velcro on and use pictures and say, so if your child always wants to know when they're going to the playground, first lunch, and you have a picture of the child eating something, then playground, and you have a picture of the playground or your child they love to see their own picture. So if you can get a picture of the child at the playground, it really helps them. Or like Vanessa said, if you're going to have 3 things happen before the playground, have a picture of lunch, meal, the meal time, some kind of visual, then nap time, let's say, some kind of picture of them sleeping, and then the playground. And you take off the pictures as you go so they see what's going to happen. That can avoid a lot of tantrums. And then let's see, so help your child to remember. Children are easily distracted. So you might have to say, I remember you need to put your shoes on before you can go outside. And then you give them the information they need to make the right choice about what they need to do for this to happen. If they don't want to put their shoes on, I remember we need you to put your shoes on if you want to go to the playground, you know, that kind of thing. You give them the language, you try to be as positive as you can using those words that you want them to do. Does that make sense to everyone? And do you have any questions or times that you can think where tantrums happen that this could help? So, you know, maybe I will show you where you find these. This is a podcast called Little Kids Big Hearts. It's a new podcast that can help parents and educators introduce some social emotional learning. So social emotional learning is really, how do we express our feelings? How do we know that mom is upset or happy? What is it in her face that shows me that? Some kids need help with that. They might not have words to describe. We have lots of visuals they can use. This podcast just gives you some ideas for things, and it's nice. I'm going to just take you to this website. This is where you can get everything. It's called NCPMI, and it's the National Center for Pyramid Model Innovations. And you can go down to the bottom. Now, this is all at challengingbehavior.org. So Vanessa can put this in the chat, challengingbehavior.org. It's also going to be in the PowerPoint, but you can see, like today, they have a children's book list with all sorts of ideas about what to read, what books are good. If you go to the library, you can actually go get those books. Then you can also go to a whole family section right on their main page. So here's the family section, family engagement, and the backpack series is what I just showed you two of. So let's just look at these. You can also view all the translations if you know anyone who speaks another language, or if you have someone in your family. It's in 10 different languages. So how to help your child stop biting, how to give clear directions, how to stop your child from hitting and pushing, how to stop whining, how do we understand why our child has challenging behavior. Here's the one I did today, how to help your child avoid meltdowns. Lots of ones about giving clear expectations. How to help your child recognize and understand anger. Lots of different ones on emotions. So disappointment, fear. If you have a child who's afraid of things, you can talk about that with them. Jealousy. I think I already said frustration, sadness, general emotions. And then we talked about this one as well, how to use positive language to improve your child's behavior. That's the number one thing I will tell you teachers and parents say that works, is this one. How do you use positive language? It's like the biggest bang for your buck. If you start today, tell your child what to do instead of not to do. And then there are ones on how to help at bedtime, have a successful morning, go between places and activities, like Vanessa was saying, leaving the playground. That gives you ideas for that. reducing challenging behavior, and then helping your child learn how to share. If that's something they struggle with, there's a resource for that. Understand time and expectations, learn to trade. That's another thing. We can have kids learn how to trade with other children to avoid, take turns. Oh, this is a big thing for parents. How to teach your child to appropriately get your attention. It's the same thing if they're trying to get another child's attention and that child's not paying attention to them, they might hit that child to get their attention. They might just say over and over, mommy, 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 right? How do we teach them? And you can use visuals for that as well. So those are the, there's also for families, a whole bunch of, there's articles, there's all sorts of articles on biting and playtime and expressing emotions. There are these great scripted stories that you can do for helping clean up my toys. That might be a tough thing for your child. And this is where I was saying all the visuals that come in, they have so many great visuals. Maybe you want help with helping your child brush their teeth or go to school or be a friend, wash their hands, stay safe, use their words. Anyway, this is what I was saying. There's so many resources that I want you to feel like you can reach out to me if you are looking for things. So the other thing is you can click on this red resource library tab. You can do language. So these are all the languages that the resources are in. And then you can just put a word in. So let's say I'm looking for something to help my child with feelings. Look at what comes up. Today, I feel there's feeling wheels, all sorts of visuals, feelings at bedtime, Play-Doh mats you could print out. Kids can do their faces on those. Self-regulation thermometer. There's stuff on helping teach your kids breathing. So just so many great resources that are all for free. Does anybody have a topic that they would like me to look up for you while we're all together? You can put in the chat or unmute. Vanessa, maybe we can stop recording at this point, and if anyone wants to reach out to me, they can email me at theconnecticutpyramid@gmail.com.
I just put your email back in the chat.
Huh?
I just put your email back in the chat.
Oh, good. Thank you. And then maybe we can take the recording off in case anyone wants to ask questions.
Yeah, I just put it back your email, and someone said that was great. Really appreciated the series, awesome resources, and they have to go. Thanks again. Thank you for coming. If anybody has any questions, feel free to just.
Oh, you're muted.
I hit it myself and muted. If anybody has questions, you can put in a chat or just unmute and ask. I also put it in a chat, the CPAC phone number and email. So if anybody has a specific question about anything, just email or give us a call, and we'll be happy to assist and help and come up with resources, whatever you guys need. Any questions? I don't see any questions on Facebook as well. But if anybody don't have any questions, someone just said thank you so very much. Very helpful. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here with us. And next month on October 12th, it's our next series that's gonna talk about how to support your children's social emotional development. So October 12th at 12:30, it's our next series for the backpack. And if you have any question before that, just email us.
Yes, and thank you so much for being here. It really says a lot for you as family to be coming to these. And Bethanne is great. She's on our team as well. She's another one who volunteers her time for this. So if you can join the rest of the backpack series, they're all really good. I love the backpack series. So
yeah, I wish I had the backpack series on my kid was little. He's 14
me too.
now.
Me too. My kids are almost 30. So
Wow.
yeah, I really wish I had it too.
Yeah, and I got everybody that put their email in a chat. I wrote them down, and I will be email you guys the PowerPoint.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you again. Happy to see everybody. Thank you, Lisa, so much to help us.
Yes, and please reach out if there's anything you're looking for. We'd love to hear from you all.